There's another name, Cole, Cube for short, who I believe is on the Mississippi State A&M game. Is that right? Is that where you're going this weekend?
That is correct. We will be there. Looking forward to it. Battle of the Maroon.
Yeah, we expect a competitive game there. But that's actually not the one I want to ask you about. First off, I want to ask you about a game that I drew a lot of heat for the other day because I had the audacity to pick the home team to win. And I picked Florida to do a Mark Calloway special, better known as The Undertaker, and to just do the full setup out of the grave and compete, kind of like they did last year, and win a football game here. And I laid it out, and it was tough. Trust me. It was one of those give me a game plan where 20 points is enough kind of routes. And I think I found it. I found it enough where my heart was able to let me sleep at night the other night. I think that Jaden Baugh sees a whole lot more workload this weekend than he has recently. I think there's still a lot to be seen, a lot to be proven from that Texas passing game. They get to go into a really hostile environment here again for the first time since Columbus. I don't know that the separation potential is there in the wide receiver room, at least like it was last year. So I was able to resolve in my own mind Florida's got a shot to win this thing. What do you expect from Texas, Florida?
There's a path in which you try to take that game that I can see it going. The offensive line for the Florida Gators is going to have to play a lot better. Jaden Baugh has the ability to get loose. The problem is where a lot of the issues are with Texas, it's not on that side of the football. It's the other side of the football. So if Florida were to win this game, I think you're going to see Arch Manning sacked 4 to 6 times. I think one of those would result in at least one turnover. You may see a special teams touchdown from Florida. You're going to get great field position for the Gators to where they could take some shots towards the end zone. But I don't see necessarily Florida's offense just going out and being the reason that they win this game because Colin Simmons and company are still playing good football. Michael Taff and company are still playing good football. That Texas defense, Leafu has been playing great off the ball at linebacker. It's not just the edge defenders. It's the secondary. It's the linebackers. Trey Moore off on the football. That group has still been outstanding. Now, the offense is where I have the issues with Texas, where they're ranked, the way people view them, what they kind of seemingly are in the public eye right now, Josh, because the playmakers aren't making plays. You can try to go blame Arch Manning, and I do think he was pretty amped up in the beginning of the season. I actually thought the last 2 games he began to calm down just a little bit, began to find some rhythm, began to find that calm in the pocket that I think a quarterback has to have to truly go be elite or great. The problem is when you allow UTEP to put out the best tackling performance I've seen this season in a single game because your guys were getting put to the ground in one-on-ones, I'm not going to be overly confident that your playmakers are going to do that against a pretty good Florida defense. And no, there won't be a Caleb Banks, but Tyreek Sapp, George Gums, this is a Florida defense that can still get after you up front. Secondary has some holes, but the Texas playmakers, at least by the standard that I watched them a year ago, have not been doing those things. And if that happens in this game and the Florida defense is able to get the ball to the end zone, maybe give good field position multiple times this game to the Florida offense, could they make it competitive? Yes. The giant wild card and all that, I don't know where Florida is mentally. I don't know where they are emotionally right now. None of us are going to be able to put our finger on that. None of us know. Have half the kids mailed it in? Are they extremely upset, frustrated, and get a real mad on and come out in this game, want to try to prove something? They did it last year. Can they repeat it again this year? If they do that, then sure they can play with that team. I don't think there's any doubt. But Steve Sarkisian's too good of a coordinator to keep letting some of the headaches regularly take place with what they have been in this Texas offense. But that offensive line hadn't been what I thought they were going to be. And Florida has the front that could take advantage of that.
So Texas, I mean, I think you'd agree with me. There aren't many programs out there just with more raw talent walking around the building than Texas.
No.
Probably, like you just said, I think most people would agree. I expected a little bit more from Texas so far, but the calendar just turned to October, so still a little ways to go. All right, and then maybe that climb starts Saturday. All right, think about that theme, but just go around the rest of the league. I don't even care. Go around the rest of college football for all I care. Teams that have shown flaws, shown vulnerability so far this year, that you think have the ingredients that if they get it all in gear, could hit a different gear, could get to November, and you find yourself saying, like we do about 3 or 4 teams every year, I don't want to play them right now. Or, buddy, if they get in that thing, they could actually go win it. Who is that?
There's a lot of them. Let's take Ohio State, Oregon, Miami out of this conversation because we would all believe that they are there. They have that. There are known commodities within those teams. And I think that might be hard right now in college football. Maybe the biggest challenge, Josh, is what do we know? Like, give me your knowns in college football. Like, I know right now Ahmad Hardy's the best running back in college football. I don't know if Ohio State has the best offensive line in college football, but I think they got the meanest and the nastiest, specifically with what I saw last week against Washington. I mean, there was a head count at the end of that game with what that offensive line and tight ends did to the Washington defense. Don't know if they're just the overall best, but right now they're the group I'd probably least like to face of all offensive lines in college football. Miami's O-line not far behind them. They have trained killers on defense that want to try to decapitate you on every game. So we know those three. The first one that I would give you is Ole Miss. And it would be the reason that they won the game against LSU. I thought there were two big things that people missed in that game. One, Ole Miss won the line of scrimmage. I'm a dramatic pause there. We're going to place a period next to that because there are no ifs, there are no ands, there are no buts. We don't have to come in and put parentheses on this with an asterisk and say, oh, but these other things, this guy was out, but this happened in the game or the situation. No, Ole Miss won the line of scrimmage. And I think maybe the thought process on that would get lost is you would immediately have to think that they got 95 Nebraska and they just got mowed up and down the field. Wrong. The Ole Miss offensive line doesn't have to do that with the way that they operate offensively, but they got a hat on a hat. They strained, and they allowed Kejuan Lacey, who is one of the most underrated players in college football right now because he doesn't have 11 yards a carry, but he is grinding out yards when that team desperately needs him to. And they showed me they can win a little bit of a different style fight. That defensive line is coming along. That group showed up last week, now against an LSU line that hadn't played very good football this year. So I think Ole Miss has the makings of a team that could, like you said, turn it on late and go. Oklahoma, I don't think we can really say right now because so much of that is on John Mateer. If John Mateer is there, they're absolutely that team because he is enough to carry you through multiple rounds of a postseason because he's just that dynamic of a football player. Now, that defense will keep him in any game. Any game. It's the best D-line in the SEC, possibly the best D-line in college football. You put the front seven with that. They can go out there and keep you in almost any football game you're ever going to play, but you need John Mateer to win a championship. That's just the reality of it. And then there's the kind of the team. Alabama is absolutely in that mix right now. We haven't really seen them turn the power switch on just yet, but it's going to be tough to match up with that group of receivers when Ty Simpson is making decisions like he did a week ago. When you really go in and dissect it, and you watch his eyes and how he took defenders off of routes and took defenders out of space to be able to complete balls in tight windows, he knew exactly what he was doing. He was precise. He made great decisions, and he had an understanding of how to operate that offense at its peak. And that's all I care about. Can a quarterback operate an offense? You know, like the other thing with Ole Miss, you look at Trinidad Chambliss, and everybody tells you, well, he's a playmaker. He can run. He's beautiful balls down the field. Josh, the biggest thing that Trinidad Chambliss does for me, the most important aspect he brings, he avoids catastrophe. He has catastrophe plays that he is faced with 6-8 times a game, and he gets out of them. And he'll throw it away, or he'll elude and make a 3-yard gain out of it. He's not taking a 15-yard sack. He's not fadeaway jumpers trying to throw the ball down the field. He's not fumbling because he's trying to get away from 3 defenders. That young man avoids catastrophe. And when you have an offense that's going to score anyway, those are the only kind of things that are going to allow a lot of teams to even get back in games with you. So I still would not put Georgia out of this mix. I would not put Tennessee out of this mix. I don't even think I would rule Florida State out of being one of these teams. But it does feel like the list is dwindling of teams that could realistically turn it on. I think we'll learn a lot more about Texas Tech this week. I want to see them against Houston, another undefeated team, before I really make I believe this or I know this about that football team and what they might be able to do second half of the season.
You have done radio in Birmingham, Alabama all week, the week after Bama beats Georgia, the week of Alabama Vanderbilt. I don't know how to describe this. I want you to describe what your existence has been down there this week. My existence has been, I've got a lot of Bama buddies who the week of a big game, you can always tell the hair on the back of the neck's up, the guard's up, the shoulders are a little more tense. Normally, it's like when they'll play Tennessee or LSU or Auburn or something like that. And all the questions will always be, we got to make sure to do this, make sure to do that. But the thought is always, as long as the volume knob is turned up to 8+ in this, and this category, we'll win. I've never heard him talk like that about Vanderbilt, is my point. It's not that I've got Bama buddies who expect to lose Saturday. None of them expect to lose. I mean, this is Alabama. Come on now. But what they are talking like is the way they would normally talk if LSU was coming to town or they were going down there. Or they're playing like a vintage Auburn team, playing Georgia last week. And so that's my side of it. Like Vandy owns third down last year. They own time of possession. They win the turnover battle. That's all stuff Bama did last week on the road at Georgia. So I look at it and say, can you own those critical factors? If you do, you should win the game Saturday. It's really that simple and that hard. What has your existence been like? 3 hours per morning with McElroy, who's on the call, no less, this weekend. What has that been like this week? We'll get back to the video 1 second. Do me one quick favor. Look down. Make sure you're subscribed. Most of you are. If you're not, please do so. It's the way we keep the channel free, we keep the videos coming, and we get to do college football year-round as God intended. All right, as promised, back to the video.
Here's the thing. You're almost doing it too, though. But you're saying how amazed you are that we're having this conversation about Vanderbilt. That's the problem. The discussion point should be we're talking about a good football team, not we're talking about Vanderbilt. And I understand that there are certain people that will tell you that history never fails us in college football and it will always go on as it should and we'll never hit lulls or hurdles or obstacles. But this is one of those peaks in Vanderbilt history that when we look at the seismograph and it's sitting there just buzzing on the bottom forever and ever, and you get the James Franklin peak, well, this is going to be taller than that one and higher than that one. But the difference is this team does have real sustainability, and the program may have more sustainability because of how it's being built and how Clark and the people around him have built it. First off, Tim Beck gets no credit and deserves a ton of it. The Vanderbilt offensive coordinators, who that is for the millions of people tuned in that have no idea who that guy was, and they thought maybe I was referencing an old relief pitcher for the Giants back in the day or the Cubs. It's not Rod Beck, it's Tim Beck. And the guy's damn good. He knows exactly what to do, how to manipulate things. And the amount of reads and options that are involved in this offense now with more visual deception because they have real speed on the perimeter and an offensive line that physically can at least match up better than any Vanderbilt offensive line I've ever seen. That makes them an absolute handful because going back to what we talked earlier, Josh, about operating your offense, Diego Pavia does that as well as any quarterback in college football. Now, that doesn't make him Jaden Daniels. It doesn't make him Caleb Williams. It's not what I'm trying to say. But when you put him in that with his experience, his knowledge, and how he operates a little bit, he puts it to a level that not a lot of the older quarterbacks can do with what they are given, the card that they're given to drive. So it is a handful to defend. Without Quay Russo, I think it makes it more complicated for Alabama because they become less experienced, less athletic on the edges where they're going to attack on a regular basis. And they're a defense that plays really sound. They trust each other. They know where to be. They leverage the sideline. They understand how to tackle. They tackle in pairs. They don't always get out there in space and try to tackle on their own. They understand the finer parts of playing defense as a group. And Alabama is more talented. Alabama has more speed. Alabama can be more physical. They can be more physically imposing based on the humans that they have out there. But that doesn't always make you a great football team, and it doesn't always win games. So I think the only ifs here, if we're going to talk about it, is one, is Alabama operating their offense to the level that they were last week and have the last 2-3 weeks? And if Ty Simpson's doing that, I don't really think we need to talk about a lot of the other things. They're probably going to win the game because at that point, talent takes over when the operation of it is that good. Two, Diego Pavia is going to give you 3 to 6, 3 to 5 expletive plays a game. Which direction do they go? Because when you're falling down, getting tackled, and you pitch it behind your head, if your running back catches that and goes 40 yards, well, that's one your way. If you do that little fadeaway back foot, throw into the end zone because you got pressure breathing down your neck and you don't know what else to do, and your receiver comes away with that, that's one for you. When those turn into fumbles for touchdowns or interceptions after a great drive, that's a massive win for Alabama. So is Alabama operating where they have been? One. Two, the O expletive Diego Pavia plays. Which direction do those go? That's what decides this game, in my opinion.
How do you gauge the energy coming out of LSU right now? We saw what happened in the game against Ole Miss last week. That result did not surprise me. I know you well enough to know that result didn't surprise you a whole lot either. So now, you're listening to Brian Kelly talk about, everyone's angry. Everyone's angry here. A lot of times you kind of got what you got, and the real skill in this sport is looking in the mirror, realizing, hey, I'm LSU, man. Like, about 95% of the country would love to have my problems. Eventually, we got what we got in the room. We got to coach them up. We got to squeeze every drop out of the sponge that we possibly can, and hopefully it's good enough to win. I just wonder, number one, if they're capable of doing that, and then number two, if they're not, and if some losses, start to stack up. I'm talking like maybe an 8-4 season, and that's a long way down the road. But I just wonder what the conversation would be then. But we can talk about that down the road. As far as the here and now, can't run the ball. Nussmeier's hurt. I don't really know what they believe they have behind him. I know what the name on the depth chart is. I don't know that they believe they're comfortable going to him. I just wonder, because I have no feel for what's going to happen the rest of the way with them. I don't think they're done losing games. And so I just kind of wanted to get your take, wanted to get your read on LSU right now.
Yeah, the interesting part is when you look at some of the things that Ole Miss did to complicate the game when LSU was on defense, you still got Lenore Sellers, Diego Pavia. I mean, you got Alabama, Texas A&M, Oklahoma at the end of the year when John Mateer most likely could be back. I don't like seeing that in front of me. And I will say this, Josh, and I don't think, I'm not pointing a finger at you here, but we came out of last weekend in the SEC with a huge misconception. Because if I looked at Twitter and I listened to a few podcasts and how people talked about games, Alabama won by 52 and Ole Miss won by 39. And, Tennessee lost by 11. And it's like, that wasn't the way that these games really went. Those games, you could say the same thing about Auburn, but against Texas A&M, that one actually did look and appear to be as though the score was about 20 points different than it was. So I don't even know if I'd categorize that, even though Auburn did have the football with a chance to take the lead late, just like LSU did, just like Georgia did. So I don't know if that means that the teams that won aren't that good or the teams that lost aren't that bad, but that's what I'm trying to sell to my group if I'm Brian Kelly. Here are the mistakes that we made that were critical. Here's how close we were in the end. However, what you just stated, it's one of the things that Nick Saban did better than anybody. Self-scout. He would ask people around the facility. He had a couple people that he leaned on and said, tell me what's wrong with me. Tell me what's wrong with us. That doesn't mean he always went out there and said, okay, good, we're going to S-can that, and we're going to come over here and do it completely different. No, but he wanted to at least have his eyes open to things that he possibly did not see. There are a few of those for LSU. I'll give them credit. 7 plays against Ole Miss, they evened up the run formation, which means you're either shotgun 2-back or you're pistol with the back right behind your quarterback, and you allow the perception of multiple runs being able to go one way or the other. The shotgun offset to one side or the other gives the defenses too many advantages. The offensive line has flat out not played good football. Your quarterback's dinged up, obviously, but even he is still taking a few too many chances. The balls thrown into traffic last week were unacceptable on a very regular basis. So those are things that can get cleaned up. Now, some of those include a certain level of physicality and talent and understanding in your technique and fundamentals and belief. They're going to change all that? I don't know. Like you referenced not being able to run the football. Do we know that? Because I think only 33 times this year, if my statistician in Charlotte Monday afternoon was correct, they've run the ball on back-to-back downs this year. That's not giving you a chance to live in that neighborhood. That's being the $100,000 millionaire in Dallas or whatever it is, driving the Ferrari with your new sponsor can go deal with, the $200,000-$300,000 debt that they have, trying to pretend that you're something else that you're not. So I think LSU needs to know who they are first and foremost. I know what they want to be and what they think they are, and that is superstar quarterback with flashy weapons that can pitch it all over the field. There's nothing you can do about it, and our defense is going to punch you in the stomach. And some teams can withstand a punch in the stomach. Ole Miss did. Ole Miss proved that you don't have to go score 40 to beat that football team. So there should be a lot of looking in the mirror, and there should be a lot of looking in there and saying, we can't be that anymore, or we thought we were that, and we're definitely not. So we have to find other things that we can offset what we think we're good with and maybe try to give us some true balance down the road. I still think they have one of the best defenses in the league, one of the best defenses in college football, and you can lean on that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, that's why I'm not tapping out on him. I refuse to tap out on Blake Baker. That's an American hero. I just have a lot of questions about the other side. All right, all this stuff happens on Cube Show all week. Unbeknownst to some of you have discovered, others need to discover. How do they do it? I'm told it's free. They don't even have to sign a waiver. They can just go over there and subscribe, right?
It's so free. You just click subscribe on YouTube, at Cube Show on your socials. If you want to listen to it instead of watch it, no one would blame you. That would be completely understandable. You can get it on Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, and you can check us out there. So every Monday, we go through the film of all SEC teams that played that week, whether they played another conference opponent or not. We're going to tell you what we saw and how it went.
And all of that film study is done on the treadmill, yes?
Lots of it is logging steps on the treadmill, correct, yes.
I just wish that other people could experience, like me walking into a hotel gym and you're over there with the incline at about 70%, pouring sweat all over the place, and just every now and then there's, and I look over and your head's shaking because someone just broke edge contain, and I'm like, headphones in, disrupting everyone else in there. Some guy's just trying to do tricep presses, and you're over there terrifying him like a caged animal.
Ask Chris Doring about it. He comes in there and bothers me almost every week because we stay at the same hotel, and he's like, what are you doing? But I will self-scout right now and tell you 70% incline, absolutely not.
No.
I'm not that guy. I can't do that. No.
15 years ago. All right, well, have fun in College Station. Tell Lucci I said hi. And remember, it is not cult behavior. It is just tradition. And everyone has unique tradition into and of themselves. It's not anything that we should be laughing at. Not that you ever would. I'm just trying to speak to certain other people in the chat right now.
It's going to be a fun game. I agree with you what you said earlier. That here's what I'll say about this one for people who maybe don't know a lot about it. You know, they all wear these GPS monitors, right? And I actually pitched this to our television crew. I don't think there's any way we can graphic this or stat this or whatever. But those things don't just read miles per hour. They read output. And that's when guys will be throttled back or taken out of games where their snaps are limited because they know what your max output is, be it force blocking or speed running, changing directions, all that. If we could measure the force output of all the bodies that step on the field for every SEC team, Josh, I honestly believe Mississippi State would win that.
Yeah.
Whatever that competition would be called, whatever it would be, the output GPS meter Olympics, because these kids play their rear ends off. And they might be going the wrong way playing their rear ends off, but they do it, and they love to hit, love to tackle, and offensively they get after it, and they got a quarterback that knows how to operate it. They can't body everybody up in this league and match up perfectly or have mismatches go their way, but, man, they play hard. And I know Lebby and those guys have got to be proud of that.
All right, go get some dinner. I'm going to do the same. We'll talk to you next week.
Thank you, Josh.